Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Unleashed here. So we've got obviously a little bit earlier today. Usually go off at 10, but I've got to get into the city. I've got to do that youth sports segment that I'm going to tape, and will be on Fox on Sunday night. So I got to get into the city, and I got a couple things to do. So I wanted to make sure we don't miss a show. A lot going on, obviously. You know, I'm going to kind of skim through a couple of things. The meat of the show will obviously baseball. I just think talking baseball today. It's cold out. The snow, we're digging out of it. And before you know it, you know, those visions of, you know, fungo bats and beautiful sunshine is upon us here, man. So I always feel baseball. Like, you never have to get me too ready to feel baseball energy, but I feel a little bit more than I usually do today. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Just, I want to button a couple of things up here. Now, first of all, this is starting to get a little bit of traction. We'll see where it goes. I'm obviously on. I'm not gonna go too deeply into it, but I'm obviously on the record. The Knicks are gonna win nothing, so I believe they got to make a trade. Time is ticking. February 5 is the deadline. If you can get rid of Bridges, if you can get rid of Cat, that's obviously the move for me. Everybody's thinking Giannis, which would be fantastic if they could actually pull that off. What I do find interesting, though, is that now the Knicks are connected to Drew Holiday to maybe make a move to get him. Obviously, it could be a 3-team trade, or maybe you get him and then you further entice Giannis to make a power play to get dealt only to the Knicks because that's his guy. So that's certainly something we got to keep an eye on here. If you have if you were to have a starting five, let's say of Holiday and Brunson, OG, Giannis, and Mitchell, I mean, that's Mitchell Robinson. That's pretty damn good. That's a team that's got a better chance with a championship than the team that's rolling out there every day right now. All right, I just wanted to at least address that. The other thing, too, guys, is, you know, obviously the Giants have had their day with Harbaugh, phenomenal, great energy, terrific hire. Giants are on the path to being corrected here. Now, the other thing, though, with the Jets, very quickly, I did a lot on the Jets yesterday. You know, you start to get some news trickle in. I think Connor Hughes has been a really, really great source for this, where he's really connected some dots. It looks like the Jets are very serious about Frank Reich. I know Boomer addressed this briefly on the show yesterday, didn't refute Connor's report. Connor's doing some good reporting, as I said. Now, the only thing that's interesting about this is that if the Jets were to get Frank Reich, and apparently it wouldn't come with the offensive coordinator title, which I'm okay with, but it just does lead to a little bit of confusion. At the end of the day, I am in the business of getting smart, experienced people, particularly experienced people in the building around Aaron Glenn, because he doesn't really know what the hell he's doing yet. The thing I find interesting, though, while I like Frank Reich, and I've always liked Frank Reich, and he's coached 2 different teams, and he won a Super Bowl, though he didn't call the plays for the Eagles. This past year, he was at Stanford. He was the interim head coach for Andrew Luck and the Stanford Cardinal, which means he's going to be able to weigh in a little bit on some of these college players. I'm not saying he's getting carte blanche in the draft room, but he's just an additional resource, which is what smart people do, which is what the Jets never do. They just roll the dice on people who have no experience and hope it works, where it seems like they're crafting more of a plan for experience right now, which I really do like. But it does get a little, I don't know, a little confusing here. Like, where's that power, or where's that official play call duty coming in? Because if it's going to be Tanner, who's going to be retained, by the way, Tanner Engstrand, he's probably not going to call the plays there. Would the Jets hire Frank Reich for more like an overseeing of the offense and work with the quarterbacks? And he has worked with a lot of different quarterbacks stylistically. So I like Frank Reich. He's a good football man. He's been out of the NFL for a minute. You got to calculate that at least a little bit there. But I think that feels like something that's going to happen. So if and when he's introduced or named today or tomorrow, we'll find out exactly, what he's going to do. But I like it. I think that excites me right there. Now, the other thing real fast before I get into the baseball here is the defensive coordinator position. What a stunner. Jets have to fill every single position known to man, which obviously is not an enviable position to be in. But, the thing with Wink here, so Wink really interviewed about 3 days ago, and there's been no contract. I don't even know if there's been an offer yet. I know that they value Chris Harris. I'm going to need a little bit more in Chris Harris to get me excited here. No disrespect to Chris Harris. I do like the thought of having Frank Reich in there on offense and kind of overseeing like being the general of the offense. And I do love the thought of Wink coming in here, and just blitzing people. And obviously the Jets drafted a couple of guys that could get to the quarterback that they need anyway, whether it's Wink or somebody else. Obviously, Jim Leonard's appealing to me as well, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Now, the other thing, too, with Wink is that he was in Michigan for a couple of years. So like Frank Reich for a year at Stanford and Wink for a couple of years in the Big Ten. Again, you're just bringing people into the building that have been around the NFL, that have won at the NFL level on a very high level with coaches, coordinators, different franchises, different types of players, different types of buildings and organizational philosophies. I at least the semblance of a plan, right? A semblance of a plan start to take shape a little bit here for the New York Jets. So if this comes to fruition, I'll be happy. I won't be over the top because you don't win anything without a quarterback, but at least it will tell me, and by extension, it should tell you that at least the Jets are beginning to change how they've done things. Now, if this breaks down and Wink is not there and it's a Chris Harris or somebody who hasn't done the job before, now it's like, all right, kind of seems going down the same road here. The other thing, too, real fast, if you have, I don't know that you go to Wink here, but if you had Reich and Wink, or even just Reich and somebody else in the building, if the Jets just come stumbling out of the chutes, and why wouldn't they? They always do. And they're 1-5 and 2-6, and you got to make a change where it just seems untenable, where you have to make a change like the Giants had to make a change midseason or during the season with Brian Dable. At least you can entrust the team with somebody who's done it before in Frank Reich. So additional value there, experience, all the stuff I just mentioned. All right, so we'll see what happens with the New York Jets. Now, let me get to baseball here, right? So the thing about baseball is very interesting from a Yankee and a Met perspective. It's actually very different. Like, you think about the mindset. The Mets fan and their mindset was one that was really, I would say, riddled in dissatisfaction when the team was deconstructed. And now they're completely energized, and I think they've gotten over that emotional kick to the stones that players that they love are no longer there. I think the Met fans been energized now, especially with the Perot. I mean, it's one thing to get Bo Bichette, and that's really good. I wish the Yankees would have been in on him. I've said that a few times. But now you go out there, you get Peralta. We don't even know if the New York Mets are done. You got a center fielder with some upside. Like, you've done some things before that, a second baseman who can catch it. So the defense up the middle is better. You got some quality clutch bats. I think the Met fan right now is in a pretty good place emotionally. I think that they think that they still have a chance at Skubal, which I would agree with as well, if and when the Tigers decide to trade him. I think that Met fans also think that maybe there's another move to be had, whether it's a starting pitcher, whatever it might be. And by the way, the kid Tobias Myers, who was in that trade with Peralta, somebody that I think is pretty interesting. So I don't want to get in the weeds on him, but like, that's the Met fan energy right now. The Yankee, and I want to disprove something here, or at least reestablish some sanity. Like, the Yankee fan is obviously disgusted. And let's face it, one thing that I will say, and I get the disgust to a large extent, because it's been the same old thing, the same old regurgitation. Every year we complain about Cash, we complain about Hal, that he doesn't spend enough, which, by the way, he does. It's not really Hal's fault that the people who he pays a lot of money to build out a franchise with all the resources that Hal provides, and that they don't do their job as well as they should. Well, I mean, that's, at least Hal's cutting some checks here. So I think that that's been hijacked, right? Now, you could also say you'd like to see at some point Hal grow a distaste for these same results and actually do something different and maybe mix things up, but he's not doing that going into the season. But what I find interesting, right, this is my big takeaway here. So, again, the Met fan's in a pretty good place. The Yankee fan, even the Bellinger signing was largely anticlimactic, and I was there as well. I told you for a month, hey, I think it's going to get done. Pretty confident about it. If it goes to 7 years, peace out, take a hike, don't need you. If you are going to be adamant about 6 years, I would still say take a walk, don't need you. Go heavier on the AAV, which they did. They got a little creative finally with an enticing bonus of about $20 million, opt-outs after year 2 and 3. So the Yankees made some concessions that they probably didn't want to make there. But this is like, to me, this is where things get very misrepresented from a Yankee point of view. Now, the standard should be higher. Let me get that straight. But there's also a middle ground here that I think is being missed by a lot of people. So I'm looking at this last night. You look at the projected win totals for Major League Baseball. Got the Dodgers with 102.5. You've got the Yankees 91.5. That is a massive mess. By the way, I don't know this to be true because I haven't looked at these odds and these gambling trends forever. But I will say that I would guess that there's never been such a bigger disparity in terms of what the top team's anticipated win total would be. And then you mix in 2 and 3. Like 102.5 down to 91.5 is massive. Like you generally have, a team that's knocking on the door of 100, but then you almost always have two, and the Yankees are usually one of them. 2 or 3 teams that are in the neighborhood, 94.5, 95, 95.5, something like that. That's not the case now. So a big drop. Dodgers, Yankees, Phillies, 90.5, pardon me. Seattle, 89.5, and then the New York Mets at 89.5, right? So those are the projected over-under win totals for Major League Baseball. Now you get to the World Series betting odds right now. Dodgers plus 220, Yankees plus 900. Then you've got Seattle, the Braves, the Jays, and the Mets who are plus 1140, the Mets, which is astronomical. And if you don't know what that means, you throw down $100. If the Mets win the World Series, you get $1,140 back. I don't want to assume everybody knows that. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm content with what the Yanks have done. I'm not. And I'm still very confused with why they don't do things that they haven't done that I think would make them so much better. Like, all right, you don't want to really stick your toe in the Tucker pool. That's fine. I didn't really need that. But to not be legitimately engaged, I know that they had conversations like they do with everybody. Yankees doing their due diligence, Yankees doing their homework. But to me, Bo Bichette is somebody that I wanted on the Yankees. That's all there is to it. And there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered here. Will the Yankees make another move for a starting pitcher? What do they do to set up the bullpen before you get to Bednar? Mets got to address the bullpen a little bit. Do you trade Jones or Dominguez? I'm not saying that everything is clear here. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am clearly stating, you guys got to tap the brakes a little bit here with this nonsensical, the world is ending, and the New York Yankees and the New York Mets baseball fate for 2026 is non-existent, and it's already doomed. Because the odds makers don't think that, and I don't think that. Now, I understand, at least from a Yankee perspective, you're used to being viewed differently. Like it is the Dodgers by a mile, and then we'll throw the Yankees a little bit of a bone, and we'll throw the Phillies a little bone, and Seattle for the World Series odds, and the Mets and the Braves and whatever, 1 or 2 other teams, Toronto for sure. But that doesn't mean that the Yankees can't win. And I understand it. Like it's gone just full throttle the last couple of years as it's gotten further and further away from 2009, which I also get. Yeah, it's been a while. Let's go. It's become so bottom line, which I also get because it's the Yankees, but I also think it's a little bit of a misrepresentation of really where they are. Yankees have a chance. And if you don't think the Yankees have a chance to mess around and get to a World Series, I don't know what to tell you. Now, that might not satisfy you today. You might not like the Yankees on paper today. And there's elements of that statement or that thought process that I subscribe to. And I'm going to run down the lineups in a minute, right? You tell me which one you think is better. But I think the difference this year for the Yankees, and not that the Mets can't do this, they certainly could with a Skubal or somebody else, but we all want a World Series, anointing in February or January. You want to win the hot stove, right? But the Mets won the hot stove a year ago with Juan Soto. Mets didn't even win 85 games. When are we going to learn our lesson here and understand that you could go into the season, right, with a good team, with a team that's got a chance to win, with an incredibly deep pitching staff from the Yankees' perspective, especially when these guys come back and they're healthy. And, by the way, at that point, you can then make adjustments during the season. There's a lot that Brian Cashman doesn't do right. There's also one thing, probably more than one thing, but the one thing that he does very well is that he generally pivots in a smart manner during the season. Like last year, think about where we were last year. And I like the pivot from Juan Soto. I thought it was a smart, practical, very quick, very well laid out plan for the Yankees to have something ready. Kind of like the Mets this year when they missed out on Tucker. Bang, they already had their plan B in the hopper. Let's push this button. We got Bichette. We're ready to pivot. Whereas the Yankees were dragging their feet, kind of waiting on Bellinger, line in the sand, not going to deviate from it. And we're all sitting there saying, all right, that's fine because Bellinger's good, not great. But like if the Yankees don't get Bellinger, what are we doing here? And there was angst with that, which I always understood and I always said, right? But this thought of like go back to last year, and we were all pumped. I know I was, in terms of most of the players they brought in. And one of those players was Devin Williams, who, I mean, outside of the Pete Alonso home run, before Alonso dented him in that big moment, up until that moment, Devin Williams was the best closer in baseball. Devin Williams didn't finish the season as the Yankees closer. Like, this is what I mean. What we see now, I'm gonna rip through these lineups in a minute, but what we have right now is just a general broad basis of where we're going. You know, both teams have a couple of superstars. Both teams have some real pluses and some real assets. And then both teams have some players that they're still trying to figure out. And the Yankees, more than the Mets, are trying to thread this needle of being highly, which I don't love. I'm not saying that, but I understand what they're doing. I just wish more of you understood it, right? To try to thread the needle of being incredibly competitive and give their fans a chance to win, which they always do. And they're going to have another chance to win big this year, 90 plus, win a division, win a round or two, maybe get a little lucky, maybe bring in some reinforcements, maybe get back to and win a World Series. But I just think, guys, like I'm at the stage, because I've seen too much, where there's such an overreaction to what is on the lineup card now in late January or in a week, early February, and we want it now. We want that immediate gratification, which is kind of, unfortunately, a reflection of society, which I don't think is a great thing. I mean, you want. Sometimes you got to wait, you know. Sometimes you got to let things go. Sometimes you have to let things mature and develop and clear up. And what the Yankees are trying to clear up is, you know, what are they going to do with the Jones-Dominguez duo? They're both not making the team. I mean, I don't know how you put Spencer Jones in AAA again. He's going to be 25. I mean, at some point, you got to either move him up or you got to move him out. As Billy Joel once said, moving out. He's got to move out at some point or move up. And I don't think he's moving up because I don't think he's better than Jason Dominguez. So I think that Jones is going to get dealt. And I'm okay with that because I think if you pair a Jones with, I'm just throwing stuff out, a Will Warren, somebody like that, or one of these younger Yankee arms that a lot of people around baseball really, really like, you can get something really meaningful. I don't know if that's Nico Horner. I don't know about that, but you can still trade Jazz. There's still a lot of things that the Yankees can do. Not big ticket things. Tucker's gone. Bichette's gone. Peralta's been acquired. You know, Suarez signed a 5-year deal with the Red Sox, of course, leaving the Phillies, so that helps the Mets out there. But just understand, everybody is so consumed with winning now. Got news for you. You don't get trophies for winning now. You might get a couple of more phone calls on a station. You might get a couple of more tweets. You might get a couple of more messages here, but you don't win now. You don't. And even some of the players that have signed, right? Like Kyle Tucker, who's a really, really good baseball player. You know, his advanced metrics back that up. You just even go to WAR. Like, he's one of the best WAR players in baseball the last 5 years. You know, he's on that list with Judge and a couple of others. Like, so the justification to want him, I understand. But he's also a little injury prone. There's also some whispers. Does he really love baseball? There's some whispers. Can he really flourish in a big market? You know, those whispers were following him around in Chicago. So just relax. Tap the brakes. Everybody relax. I could promise you this. With a maybe promise is strong, but with an incredible degree, without saying it's 100% because it never is, incredible degree of confidence and near certainty. I can tell you that when the Yankees start, if this is the lineup on opening day, Grisham, Judge, Bellinger, Stanton, Rice, Jazz, Wells, McMahon, Caballero, until Volpe gets back, right? I can promise you that that's not going to be the opening day line or the game one lineup, you know, if and when the Yankees make the playoffs like they always do. I mean, because last year at this point, Caballero wasn't on the team, Rosario wasn't on the team, McMahon wasn't on the team. The Yankees had a real issue when they had some injuries early in the year. You had to find a third baseman who could catch the baseball. And the Yankees, now, I don't love Ryan McMahon. You know, I thought he was a good fit based on what they needed, but I also thought Colorado would eat some of that money. But, you know, kind of like the Marlins ate some of that money with Stanton back in the day with $10 million for a couple of years here. and they didn't do that. That's done by the Yankees. I mean, you think Ryan McMahon, you think the Rockies really wanted to pay Ryan McMahon? It's like you go to watch Albert Pujols, who's been there 8-9 years, and you got an extra 10, 12, 15,000 Rocky fans reaching into their pocket to go watch the great Ryan McMahon, who just provides this incredible economic boost. So, like, and he's not even a league average hitter in Coors Field. Like, that the Yankees didn't get that contract, those numbers diluted a bit, is criminal. And that's just bad business because it happens all the time. But McMahon wasn't here. And even think about this, right? So last year, Grisham was a guy that we didn't want to play at all because he was a 190 hitter. Now, I don't love Grisham. I just want to show you how things change, how quickly things can change, right? So Grisham was a throw-in, oh, God, this guy hits 190, 195, 198. He's got a weird-looking swing. Grisham, all right, fourth outfielder, fantastic. And then funny thing happened. And again, I'm not a fan. I'm not trying to convince you that everything's great because it's not. I'm just trying to provide some context that it's not nearly as dire as many of you think. So Grisham goes from what we used to think about him to a guy who runs into 34 bombs. Perfect player? No. Did his defense take a little bit of a step back? Yes. Do the metrics back that up? Sure. Do I want him batting leadoff? Not a chance in hell. I do not think he is a leadoff. Forget on a World Series team. I don't think Trent Grisham's a leadoff hitter on a division-winning team. I just don't. I don't like him there. Too many empty at-bats. Can't hit lefties. So while I don't love Grisham, think about our perception based on what he showed us as a player before last year. And while we don't love him now, he's certainly much more viable than he was. All right? That's Grisham. Obviously, Judge is the best I've ever seen. Boom. Bellinger had a really good year with the Yankees. Fine. Stanton in the 4 spot. We know the deal with him. If he's healthy, he's going to hit some bombs. He'll miss 50 games, whatever. What did you think about Ben Rice a year ago? Because what you thought about Ben Rice going into the season is probably not what you think about Ben Rice going into this season, where I actually think when it's all said and done, I think that Ben Rice, now I know you got a lefty, righty, you got to split them up and all that stupid stuff. To me, I'd put the best hitters in the best spots, which to me, I think Ben Rice has a chance to be a 3-hitter for the Yankees. That's how good I think Ben Rice could be. So think about that. And it's not like this inflated perception based on what he did in the minors or what the word around Major League Baseball is or, the Martian, like a nickname, or, this guy's the number 1 prospect. You watch Ben Rice hit and you watch Ben Rice bang. Ben Rice could hit, and he's going to hit. So this year's version of Ben Rice versus last year's version, 2 totally different planets. Now, Jazz brings a lot of good. He also makes you scratch your head. I actually thought the opposite, where I thought going into last year, Austin Wells will be a little bit better. I'm a little down on him now, but he's still a 20 home run catcher who's going to bat in the bottom third of the order. You do a lot worse than that. Your third baseman wasn't McMahon, which I don't love, but he's your third baseman now. And Caballero was on a different baseball team. All right. So that's how fast things change. All right. What did we say about, I don't think, now I like prospects. Like I follow it, not like a nut job, but I know who's valued. I follow it enough to follow it, right? More than rudimentary terms. I don't think I mentioned Cam Schlittler's name once last year at this time. I really do. Think about it. And I don't think anybody else did, because every time somebody said Cam Schlittler's name, they would say Cam Schlittler. Like everybody would. Like I remember when we were saying it on the radio, even though it's unintentional, you got FCC guidelines, certain things you can't say. And if you're, as I sometimes do, especially me and Sal going back and forth, you're in the middle of a debate, a heated conversation. You say Cam Schlittler, Schlittler. Like you catch yourself quick, We didn't mention his name once. I didn't. I'm going to forget about we. I'll speak for myself. And I'll put my baseball knowledge up against anybody. Anybody. I wasn't talking about Cam Schlittler last year. Look what he did against the Red Sox. He looked like Roger Clemens. He looked like vintage, a right-handed Randy Johnson. He looked like Kurt Schilling. He looked like Pedro. So and then you mix in the fact that last year, as I said, we thought Devin Williams was the closer. Nope. Bednar was, and he was better. So I get it. It's not the conventional presentation. Hey, we just got Reggie. We just got Catfish. We just got Ricky Henderson. We just signed Mark. I'm just throwing out there. We just signed Mark Teixeira. A switch hitting in his prime, power hitting, slick fielding first baseman. We just got CC Sabathia, the ace that we sorely need. We just signed Matsui from Japan or Tanaka from Japan. I know it's different. And I also know that it's less than. But we've got to at least provide a little bit better context and get this thing back on the rails. I mean, because if you don't believe what I'm saying, you should at least believe the odds makers. Now, that doesn't mean they're always right, but do you think that they're just saying, well, Yankee fans are a little downtrodden right now. Let's make them feel good. So let's put out the second highest win total in terms of projection. And I don't know, just so that the Yankees can will themselves past this mental, demise that they find themselves in. Yeah, you know what? On top of it, will make the Yankees the second shortest World Series odds. You think they're just doing that for a favor? Now, I also understand that teams like the Dodgers, and I don't mean this iteration, just the Dodger name, the Yankee name, the Dallas Cowboy name. Like, I'm not going to get into it now, but there is a certain recipe that goes into these over-unders, season win totals for the NFL. When you bet a Cowboys game, you're very rare. Steelers, you're very rarely getting a truly accurate line that is reflected in terms of what, it's more about, all right, let's get this amount of money in because people who blindly, Dallas will win. Oh, the Steelers will win. Oh, the Yankees will win. Stuff like that. So that's baked in. I'm not saying it's a perfect representation of where the Yankees are, but it's in the ballpark. It's in the neighborhood. It's not 5 states away. So everybody just chill out. All right? I can promise you that lineup that I just read you that I put together last night, that ain't going to be it. It ain't going to be it as you go to October. It's not going to be it after the trade deadline. And I think that there's still a chance because I do think the Yanks are going to make a trade. You can clip this. You can say this. I believe Spencer Jones is going to get dealt. They're not trading Jason Dominguez unless it's for a player and then obviously more because Dominguez wouldn't get you a superstar. But like if it's a Dominguez and whatever, the names, like the pitchers that people desire, or even you throw Jazz in there. I don't know. But if Dominguez is part of a package, it's not going to be for a 7th inning setup man or even a higher leverage 8th inning man. I can promise you that. And if it is, it's idiotic, and I will crush the Yankees. You don't do that. I don't know what Jones is going to be, which is why I'm willing to move on from Spencer Jones. The K rate, the age, all that stuff. They've got some blockage here. Now, if they didn't sign Bellinger, that's a little different because at least there's a path for some playing time because he profiles better defensively in center. And, maybe you could have mixed and matched a little bit, whatever. But there's going to be a trade at some point. Could be before the start of the season. I'm not even sure this is the opening day lineup, despite what I just threw out there. All right. Now you get to the Mets. Oh, and by the way, even if it is, and this is the one thing that I've really leaned on from a Yankee point of view. Now, a couple of things have to go favorably. I get that. You don't know that it will. Understood. But you've got to look at strength and numbers, and you've got to compute the odds. What are the odds based on what they already have? Answer this question. What they already have, right? And calculating what will eventually return and the upside for those men that will return at some point fairly soon. What are the odds that the Yankees have the number 1 rotation in baseball this year? I don't mean the staff. I mean the starting rotation, 1 through 5. What is it? It's pretty high. I think the Yankees are going, especially, I'll make a prediction now. If Garrett Cole comes back to, I want to be a little conservative here because I don't think he's going to be right away, and he doesn't need to be. He's got to be right when it's time to be right, and which is obviously, stretch run October. I think that as long as Garrett Cole is 85 to 90% of what he was, right, then I think the Yankees have the best rotation in baseball because now you got a 1-2 combo of Fried and Cole or Cole and Fried. Now you roll out Schlittler. I mean, so that's part of the impetus for me to feel what I feel, honestly. So, that's what are the perks? Yeah, who's that? M. Cadoza. What are the perks of not being at the fan, staying inside? Yeah, although I do have to leave at 10:30, which is why I'm on earlier today. I've got to go to the city. I'm looking forward to taping that over at Fox today with it's a full youth sports segment. It's myself. It's a professor at Georgetown. Yeah. Who's going to be the smartest guy on that table? Not me, probably him. Bet you didn't play like I did, though. Anyway, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward. It's going to air on Sunday. I'll give you more of the details, but that's why I've got to leave early. But yeah, it's one of the perks for sure. Now, one of the downsides of always being home is that you're always home. And I love being home. I genuinely, I love my home, just the actual physical being of my home. I love it. I love my neighborhood. I love not having to schlep in and drive and crawl to the Holland Tunnel every day and pay $1,000 a month for parking, which is what I did like an idiot for basically 13 years. And it went up incrementally, so it wasn't always. But can you imagine that? 13 years paying that. Here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. Zap the card, zap the card. Good God Almighty. Not to mention gas, and then not to mention the miles that I put on, and I lease a car. I'm a big lease guy. I have not bought a new car. And matter of fact, I don't think that I ever will again the rest of my life. My dad started leasing cars. We went from, rundown cars that you hope would get us to wherever we had to go. And this one, he was on the job, so he just didn't have much money. And the cars, like he would buy a car maybe like $500 in cash or $1,000 in cash from somebody. Is back in the day when you'd see on the street, for sale, and you call the number. That's how we'd get our cars back then. And then when he was done on the job, he opened his own, because he's a very smart person. And he opened up a business, and that's the first time he made a few bucks. So we went from, having the shit mobile to having cars that actually ran smoothly and that were brand new. And he just taught me, and my dad's not a car guy, right? So he said, hey, get a 3-year lease. All right. It's not the smartest economic move because you're basically paying for something with no equity at the end of the road when you get the car back, but there's no headaches. Something breaks, a little problem. Here you go, fix my car. So when you do that, as I do, and I've leased cars now, I get a new one every 3 years. But when you're driving in, as I was for 13 years, that's 25 miles each way. So what happens is when I go to turn the lease in, I'm always over the mileage. So that's another benefit of not having to go into the city. Today I'm going into the city, but they're picking me up. I'm not driving. They're sending a car. So, all right. Anyway, the whole thing's out of whack here. The whole thing is out of whack. There's just this crazy, visceral overreaction, which, again, I do understand to an extent. But what's happened here is that it's from the previous year. It's like, all right, last year getting your face kicked in by Toronto, that bothers us. So that carries into this year, especially when there's nothing really done except the retention of one of your best players, right? In Cody. And then what happened the previous year with that, when the Yankees got to the World Series and lost, it was great to be back, and it was nice to be on that stage again. And that could have been a lot more competitive if, Judge doesn't drop the pop-up, if, they don't kick the ball around the infield like Jazz when the ball trickles in from the outfield and he's just looking around like, oh, what's going on? And I love him, but Boone made an awful call bringing in Nestor Cortez to face Freddie Freeman. That was just a bad move. I said it then, I say it now. I love Boone, but when he makes a mistake, I got to tell you what I see. And I said that the next day, and I went very aggressively on that, and I stand by it. Wrong move. Hadn't pitched a lot, whatever. Bad matchup, didn't like it. So the way the Yankees looked in the World Series, they were getting mocked. I mean, the Dodgers after it saying, we knew that if you put stress on their defense, they'd kick it around. And like Yankee fans are getting tired of all these failures each year stacking up. So the presentation is one big angry ball of energy and a lack of conviction in anything that they do. And I'm saying two things could be true, honestly. And I believe that two things are true here. Yes, the Yankees have made a litany of mistakes over the years. The Yankees don't operate the way they used to, which infuriates me. And I'm talking about how. The Yankees have been too okay with status quo. And I'm talking about Hal and his conviction to remain married to Brian Cashman. All those things stack up. But I can now push those to the side and say, well, do they have the best player in baseball? Yeah. Do they have a chance to have the best rotation in baseball? Yeah. So those are things. And, by the way, reinforced by the numbers, whether it's Vegas, whatever, win totals and World Series odds. So that's the Yankees, right? Changes are going to happen, even if it's not conventionally on your timeline. Now the Mets lineup. Now, I don't know where they're going to hit Bichette. I'm hitting Bichette third. So the way I would do it, I would go Lindor, Soto, Bichette. I would go Polanco 4, Beatty 5, maybe Robert 6, and then Alvarez, Benj, and Simeon. All right. So to me, like the Mets lineup is just better. Like I'm going to actually go player for player right now. I don't think the Mets are better, but the Mets lineup is better, right? It's better in more places. There's fewer easy outs. There's more interesting power speed combination. There's more, I think, intrigue in some of the younger players that will get a real chance early on, whether it's a Beatty or a Benj, something like that. Now, the difference is that Aaron Judge is so much better than everybody in baseball, including Juan Soto, from an offensive point of view, that Judge's insane Ruthian production elevates the product past to a point where, like, it really isn't on a night-to-night 1 through 9 in the order basis. But anyway, just a little bleeps and giggles time. You ready? Lindor, Grisham, advantage Mets. I'm going to actually do checks here. All right, Lindor, Grisham, boom. Soto, Judge, advantage Judge. Bichette, Bellinger, advantage Bichette. But I really do like Bellinger, and he fits the Yankees great. But Bichette, clutch, higher average, whatever. Polanco, Stanton. I'm going to actually go Polanco here. I'm going to go Polanco. Obviously, Stanton's going to run into some 470-foot bombs, but I just think you get fewer strikeouts, more grinded out of bats. That plays more over 162. I'm going to give the edge to Polanco. I'm not going to incorporate defense here, just going 1 through 9 in the batting order. Beatty or Rice, give me Rice, but I really do love Brett Beatty. You know that. You know I like Beatty. Luis Robert or Jazz, give me Jazz. You know, now if Robert catches what he was, and you know, the thing about somebody like Luis Robert, why there's intrigue, number one, he can fly. Number two, he can pick it in the outfield. He's got power. But a guy like that, it's very easy to become disengaged in baseball when you are a part of such a losing team. To me, there's a thought that just being around some better players and, you know, the residual impact of Soto in the lineup and Lindor, before, certainly Bichette, watching Bichette's at-bats, I think that Luis Roberts definitely going to have a better year than he did a year ago. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star again like he was for a minute with the White Sox, but I think Luis Robert is going to be good. I do. Just not as good as Jazz. Jazz is 30-30. He could have gone 40-40 if he didn't get hurt. Alvarez, Wells. I'm going to take Austin Wells. I just don't trust Alvarez. I like Wells. I don't love him. I just don't trust Alvarez. Not in good shape. Always hurt. Not productive enough. And then you get to the Benj McMahon, if that's where it's at. I mean, I'm going to give McMahon the edge just because I've never seen Benj do a thing, but everybody around baseball loves him. And he's going to be a plus outfielder for sure. And McMahon's a plus defender. So I would have to think that Benj, even if he strikes out less than McMahon, he might have a chance to be better. And then you get to the Simeon and the Caballero, or Simeon and Volpe. You got to give the advantage to Simeon. So like I said, like to me, there's tougher outs to navigate. Like I look now, when Luis Robert is in one of these funks, you know, he's a 2 or 3 strikeout a game guy. He's an easy out to navigate when he's in a funk. So is Alvarez. And that's kind of it. I'm going to even give Benj the benefit of the doubt because his profile in the minors is one of a little more contact, whatever. When some of these Yankees are in a funk, I mean, Stanton's capable of going 1 for 27 with 17 strikeouts. Jazz can just swing all night and not come close to contact. Same with Austin Wells. Same with Ryan McMahon. Caballero's a different kind of grinder, so I'm not too worried about him. And I like him, but he'll be at his best when he's in that super sub role. So I just gave you a lot, right? And really, if you want to boil it down to one statement or one thought process, just relax. Just chill. My goodness. I don't remember doing this when I was younger. I don't. Now, part of that, when I say young, I mean as a kid. You know, like the Yankees got Winfield, I was kind of young. And he was awful in the 81 World Series. I was about 7, so I was processing it very differently. I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't think I ever saw him play. Maybe against the Mets when the Padres came in. And, you know, baseball cards. So I knew the name, and I knew he was this massive figure with power. I mean, I was pumped, but I don't know if there was a whole lot of baseball intellect behind being pumped because I was 7. You know, Reggie, I don't even remember when they got him in 70 after the 76 World Series when the Yankees got swept. So it was more about, you know, after as the dynasty started, you know, and then it was like, well, now I expect to get these guys. So there was nothing to complain about. It went from most of my childhood, Yankees weren't good, no playoffs from after 81 through the 94 cancellation. I didn't see a single pitch I've talked about this. Think about that wheel. Think about somebody who loved baseball the way I did, played in high school, played in college. You know how much I love to coach, and just a devout lunatic baseball fan. So from the age of 7 all the way up until college, I didn't see a single playoff pitch for my team. And so that was like a different level of frustration. No wild card. Toronto was good. Tigers really good for a minute in 84. Tigers started 35-5 that year in 1984. 35-5. Think about that. And then all of a sudden, all I did was expect to win. And they did. Now, the difference with me, unlike some younger Yankee fans, is that I had become a calloused fan because there were many times I was pissed at George and I was frustrated at the product, and Mattingly hurt his back and they had no pitching, even when they had Ricky, Donnie, and Winfield. Like, how do you not make the playoffs when Ricky Henderson is your leadoff man, Don Mattingly is your three-hitter, and this is vintage Mattingly? And by the way, still absolute vintage Ricky. And oh yeah, by the way, mostly still vintage Dave Winfield. 1, 3, 4. What? So it was like frustration, and then it was, I expect to win, but because I didn't win at all as a kid, I was never one of these, and you know who you are, that cocky, come on, I love you, but that punk Yankee fan just always sticking in the Met fans' face and the Red Sox fans' face, and nobody could beat us. Like, I didn't have that. Like, I understood. I'm old enough to remember when the Yankees weren't good. So I wasn't going to walk around with that mindset like, this is what we do. So maybe I'm processing this more in a more balanced way because I've had experience with this, rather than just letting it rip like a lunatic. I also understand baseball, and I also understand it's a long odyssey, all right? So it's not even February, which means you could still do something now, all right? And then you play you start in March, all the April, all the May, all the June. All right. I remember saying to Sal, to me, what baseball's become is the first 2.5, and I don't love this, but this is what it's become. The first 2.5 months, you evaluate what you have. You just you throw it out there. You make your offseason moves. If you're going to give a young kid some run, you give him some young run, or you give him some run early. So you figure out what you have, right? All right, if somebody was hurt the year before, they get back. What do they look like? Somebody like Garrett Cole, somebody like Rodon, kind of assess the physical aspect of it injury-wise. Young players, you see if they can adapt and adjust and handle the added, strain of playing Major League Baseball on a daily basis. And if not, you got to sit them or you got to ship them out. It's evaluation. Yes, you want to win. You don't want to get buried, but you're not winning any divisional title in April and May. You're just not. So April, May, and even into early June, you're evaluating what you have, right? And then once you get to around the middle of June, you kind of know what you have. Now the next phase of the baseball season is you go out there and you get what you don't have. You address what you need to address. So first couple of months, all right, we've got this. I like this. This is working. Thought this might be a little bit more viable. We got a hole here. This guy's not getting it done. He's back in the minors. Evaluate. Then you react to the evaluation. And then the last part of the season is now you kind of hit the reset with the team and the additions and reinforcements you brought in to make a run for a World Series. That's the baseball season in a nutshell. I just boiled it down to you. I really did. So I know that it's 1 of 162, but they're not really all the same. They're not all, even though they literally are from a mathematical point of view, the way the calculus works for these front offices, it's exactly what I just told you. It's a run. First couple of months, a runway to get up and gain some altitude and validate your belief in your opening day roster and lineup. And then if you're proven to have made some sloppy or erroneous misreads, you address it. And then you go from there, batten down the hatches. We got 2 months to play ball with the reinforcements. Let's go. Like when the Yankees got Bednar, they realized, like, all right, this is, even though Devin Williams stabilized things, right? It was fairly obvious, certainly in April when his ERA was 9. Wow. Where he just, like this, it doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, doesn't smell right. I don't trust this guy in a big spot. Is he spooked by New York? Is he spooked by the pinstripes? I don't know what it is, but this guy can't be on the mound closing games when it matters, up in Fenway, up in Toronto. Not that they won in Toronto. I thought Baltimore would be better coming in, down in Baltimore. The Tigers are a pretty decent team. The good teams, right? So you've got to get that evaluation, and they will, and they'll react to it, And I think that when I look at both of these teams, I would have to say the main points of evaluation going into the season would be varying degrees of importance, but Can Polanco really handle first base? I think he'll be fine. Can Beatty handle the outfield? I think he'll be fine. Which version of Luis Robert do the Mets have? I don't know. Hey, get off the pot time for Alvarez. Like, we're getting the answer this year. I don't need to church it up. Are you going or you're not? And if you're not, you got to leave. So we'll get the answer on Alvarez. We'll get an answer on Benj, and we'll find out if Simeon has any real true life in his baseball body anymore. I like the move because Jeff McNeil, you had to get rid of him. Simeon's a great defensive player. He's a good clubhouse guy. He's a World Series champion. Even if he's not, doesn't bounce back with a vengeance from the average and the offensive output perspective, I think it's an upgrade. So those are some of the questions for the Mets. And then you calculate a Tong, you calculate year 2 of McClain. All right, is Devin Williams really going to go back to being that guy in Milwaukee, or for a month or 2 or 3 that he was with the Yankees, or do we have an issue here? You're going to evaluate that. Do we need to really just put it all on the table and say whatever it takes? We need Skubal. Hey, we're better than we thought. We can win this thing. Dodgers have an injury or 2. We're going for it. We're going for the World Series. That's all in season processing and then evaluation and then reacting to it. And now from the Yankees' point of view, and there are a lot of questions for both of these teams. I just don't think it's nearly as dire as some of you do. Is Grisham really a leadoff hitter? I know my answer, but they'll probably still evaluate that. Is Rice an adequate enough first baseman to play there every day? I think he will be, but I want to see it. Is he the hitter that we think that he will be? I think so. Do they trade Jazz? That's really still on the table. Is Wells going to turn the corner, or is he going to be one of these massive strikeout, low average, run into some fastballs, hit some home runs, kind of a catcher, which is, you'll take that better than a guy who's hitting 209 with 5 home runs, but not optimal. Do they move on from Ryan McMahon? Do they entice somebody to make a trade? If maybe you throw Jones and McMahon in a pitcher and you eat some of the money with McMahon and I don't know, you get Nico Horner. Well, I'm just throwing stuff out. I don't know. What the hell's Volpe look like when he comes back? What's Schlittler like in year 2? Where's Garrett Cole? Where's Rodon? All questions. But you guys want these things answered today. And I just don't. I understand it. I just don't agree with it. Of course I understand it. You're lunatics. You're a baseball lunatic. Like myself. I'm just a little more mature these days. J-Rod, what's cooking, buddy? What's going on, man? Where's J-Rod?
How we doing?
There he is. J-Rod,
how's it going?
Everybody. Give it up for J-Rod.
Good morning.
What up, player?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, man. So do you agree? You don't have to dive too much into the sports opinion here, but do you agree on some level, and you can if you want to, I just don't know how much you're into it, that while the reaction is kind of fun, and getting worked up, that it really largely misses the mark. Like, it's a lot of energy that's wasted that at the end of the day doesn't really mean that those are the results we're going to get when it's all said and done. Are you with me?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as they say, time tells all. I think you can't really overreact just based on, some off-season moves, some off-season rumblings. You really have to see how, things will play out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. There you go. No, I'm with you. Don Baylor. Don Baylor. Don Baylor was on the Yankees for a minute too. Yeah, I hear you. Let me get a couple of these tweets in here, or I always say tweets. They're not tweets. They're I always say that. Enough. I always do it. Let me get Glad 406. Is he in Thai?
That's what I was picking up from that. Yeah, I think so.
It kind of looks like the avatar is. Wow. Yeah. Glad I found you, BT. There's no one like the passion. It's insane. Thank you. Well, thank you. You're checking me out, checking us out from Thailand. Got to be doing something right. I'm not even sure what time it is in Thailand, if that's indeed where you are. I appreciate that. That is one thing that if I had to really kind of come up with like a working definition or a mission statement for BT Unleashed, passion and energy would obviously be somewhere very high in the description, and hopefully intellect and balance and fairness and a little wackiness and having fun and all those, and diversity and all those other things, and just a real pure passion for sport. But like, this is me. Like, this is not, I love doing this stuff. Like, I love talking. The art of communication is something that has always been appealing to me. I'm glad you guys are feeling it. And that means a lot. Thank you very,
Yes, sir.
very much. Thank you. What do we got here? Anthony's going to check in. Anthony Melly 5305. Yanks are good enough lineup to win the American League. Mets have a little bit better lineup, but will be harder for them to get out of the NL. Yeah, I think that most of that's fair, and I don't know if it's all accurate, Anthony. I think that do the Yankees really truly have a good enough lineup right now? I don't think that they do to win the American League, but that's also because I don't have the answers yet on the pitching. That's why it comes down to a Garrett Cole and a Rodon, and he's running out the staff that 1 through 5, and then obviously by extension, you're taking whether it's a Weathers or one of these cats when everybody's healthy, and you're putting them in like a 6th inning relief role, or maybe even closer to a high leverage point if they could adapt to that. Well, now I think the lineup with Judge, and with Bellinger, and you still need one more. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm trying to convince, and I don't love the lineup, but like, just imagine if you had Bichette somewhere in here. Like, if you have Bichette, now it changes everything, because what you could do, and they don't have them, so I'm not going to waste a lot of time on this, but rather than putting Grisham in a leadoff spot, you know what? You can lead off Bichette. You can lead off Bo Bichette. There's your righty. And then what I would then do, I would put Bellinger in the 2-hole, even though he protected Judge a year ago. I got Bichette, Bellinger, contact, intelligence, clutch, boom, hit, Belly hit lefties, hit righties, Bichette hit everybody as well. Then you put Aaron Judge 3, and now at that point, you could then justify putting Ben Rice 4, so you'd have a righty, lefty, righty, lefty. I know they're looking for that, but you got a lot of power, you got a lot of IQ, a lot of contact, a lot of guys on base. Like, without that one extra potent bat, I do understand that you're reaching in certain spots, like, Caballero opening day shortstop, McMahon at third base, a few of the other spots we've hit. But, that's what trades are for. You know what I mean there, J-Rod?
Yes, sir. Here's a question from Armand. Oh,
okay.
Here, you throw that one up first.
What do you got there? Okay, thank you. Oh, well, I'm not hitting anything. Why is that? Actually, I didn't hit anything. All right. Thank you, J-Rod.
There we go.
Okay.
Right here.
All right. Armand is amazing. If the O's owed Framber Valdez, if they add Framber or Gallen, are they better than the Yankees? Nah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think I was very surprised the Orioles weren't better than they were a year ago. That's one thing. Like, I didn't expect that. I didn't think that they would win the division, but their young core and the players that they had, I actually thought they'd probably be more of a chief threat to the Yankees than Toronto going in. Now, Red Sox have good pitching, a little light on the sticks there. The Orioles had Pete. If they add another arm, I mean, that's why I don't, even if they don't add another arm like Valdez, I do think that, well, I mean, if they, I mean, you got Cease, let me just really think this through. Position players, I don't love Valdez for reasons that I've talked about here. His second half numbers were very worrisome. And then the character issue crossing up his catcher. I can't reconcile that, but I'm talking, it's about the Orioles. So if they want to deal with that and they think it's okay, go for it. I wouldn't do it, but they're trying to win. Valdez and Cease. Yeah, I mean, at that point, I'd have to say that maybe you kind of flip a coin. Like, is Pete going to go there and hit 32 home runs, or is Pete going to just go bonkers year one? I'd have to think he's probably pushing 40 more so than 30, right? So I think the Orioles are a real threat. If they get somebody like Valdez, even more so, but I think they're going to be competitive now. And there's a reason why I don't think that, last year nobody won more than 94 games in the East anyway. So I don't think it's going to be like that 98, 99 win total, 100 win total. I just don't really see that myself. This has come up quite a bit at Nice Putt. Oh, we got a golfer here. Can't wait to start playing golf. Bad golf, but I can't wait to start playing. Tatis for Dominguez and Jones. Well, I would have to think they would want a controllable pitcher as well. Like, I don't think that gets it done. If it's Dominguez, Jones, and whomever else they covet other than Cam Schlittler, yeah. I mean, of course you make. There's no doubt that you do that. Of course. Yeah. I see a couple things. I thought the show started at 10. It usually does today. And I tweeted this out, guys. It starts at 10, but today I got to jump out. I got to do some stuff here. So I'm hopeful. Now, I got to look at the trademark stuff, but I'm hopeful that I'll be able to take the segment from Fox on Sunday about youth sports and upload this here. I've got to ask them. So when I went on Tina's show on Fox Sports Extra about a month or so ago, I got permission to do it, and they were cool with it. So hopefully that's the case, and I'll be able to do that again. And if we can, then we'll absolutely do it. What about how are we saying this name? M. Cadoza?
I think it's M. Cadoza. That's
M.
what
Cadoza?
I'd run with.
We'll do that. Yeah, trade idea for Tatis. They want Dominguez. All right, so this is where. Oh, no, there's no way, dude. Dominguez and Jones, fine. Lombard, I really don't want to give up Lombard. That's like the one guy that I want. LaGrange is really high. Boone loves him. And Schlittler. So really, to me, what it comes down to, I almost have to take Dominguez and Jones out of there because I'd be okay. Of course, you give them up for him. Lombard, give up LaGrange, even though I think they really love him. And I don't know that I could justify giving up Cam Schlittler at that point. I mean, man, that's a tough one. You got me. I don't know. I really don't know. Tatis. They got Tatis in here. I mean, to see the problem with that, and then the Yankees start to run into a problem that they're still addressing now, which is what I'm trying to avoid. Like, let's say that they give up Cam. I think Cam's going to be a multi-time All-Star. Jay, you can get that off the screen. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be that guy, right? So if you get rid, I'm not saying I don't trade him under any circumstance. Like if I knew they were going to get Skubal with an extension, which is not going to happen, but that's grounds for me. Like, okay, I could give up Cam Schlittler, and even then I wouldn't really want to do it because Cam Schlittler, like, I don't know, is Tariq Skubal going to be twice as good as Cam Schlittler? Probably not. If Cam is 70% of Skubal, 70%, he's making $900,000. You're going to have this guy making $50 million a year, and with how that matters, with Cohen not as much, but the issue with moving away from somebody like Cam is, Garrett Cole's getting older. Rodon's contract is up soon. All right, Max Fried, first of a, 7-year deal? I think it was 7. He pitched very, very well for the Yankees last year. I don't want to see a situation where the Yankees are always having to fill the voids in the rotation with these big contracts. Like, the idea of building a team building should consist of this. If you're a legitimate franchise and a first-rate operation that drafts well and develops well and has all the international resources and all the other stuff buttoned up, and you know what I mean, whatever it might be, encompassing everything, you're on point. Well, you would love to have like 2 transformative players that you've discovered on your own. The Yankees have 1 in terms of position players and Aaron Judge. You'd love 1 more. Now, Volpe was supposed to be that guy. It's not that guy. Dominguez was supposed to be that guy. Not that guy yet. Although I actually think Dominguez is going to take a big step. I'm actually really excited about Dominguez. Watch it get dealt as soon as we get off the show today. So if they would have had that, like then it changes things. It just changes the way you have to compute what you need to do. The fact that they, outside of Judge, they haven't produced those kind of players. Now you got to chase and oh God, we don't have a third baseman. We don't love McMahon, but he could catch it. All right, let's trade for him. Then you're stuck with 2 years left at $16 million, 32 total for a guy who strikes out 200-something times a year. And that's how, you could still be competitive that way, and you could still win a lot of games and be a playoff team that way. But that's really not the way to win a championship. So as I wrap it up, and I look at it this way, because I got to go. The car's going to be here in 30 minutes. I got to take a shower. Got to shave the dome, got to shave the dome. My wife's like, no, you should let it grow out. Grow out. No, that's the worst look. You got the George Jefferson look going on here. See that? So I got it here. I'm not as bald as ever. Like if I grew it out, it would be, but you see the sides are a little thicker. Can't be having that. Like to me, I think you look older. Like if you're losing your hair, just take the plunge. Just go. What are you waiting for? Shave it. I mean, there's still some dudes. I'll take my son to get a haircut. I still see some people in a barber chair where they don't have anything up here. And like the barber's shaving the sides, not with a razor, with a 1 or 2 or 3 clip. Like, dude, just go all the way. Who are you fooling? To me, you're drawing more attention to your baldness when you've got fur here and nothing here. What are you doing? So anyway, so I got to shave. So I got to get rolling because the car's coming here soon. I think that last thought on this, when you look at how the Dodgers have done whatever they want and they get whoever they want and it doesn't seem fair and they're playing by different rules and they're deferring money. Well, what are the Dodgers doing? Do they have wink agreements, wink and nod agreements? All the Japanese players want to go there. All right, it's cyclical. Like Ohtani's not going to be this prime forever. eventually dynasties peter out. So I'm not worried about that. And then there's going to be a complete recalibration of the economics of baseball, which is why 2027 is going to suck in terms of a work stoppage or some real deep labor strike. But the point is, the energy is twofold. The Yankee energy is you're bothered by the fact that the Dodgers are doing whatever they want, and you're not nearly as aggressive as you used to be, and you want how to be. So, and I get that. Like when you throw those two emotions together, well, now it's a little combustible. Now you're pissed off and you're on edge and you're a little ornery, right? But when you actually step back from the situation and look at it pragmatically and understand that, number one, they're not done. Number two, they're picked to win as many games as anybody outside of the Dodgers, then you know that there's a different route to get to where you want to go. And I think that that's what you got to hang your hat on right now. And from the Met point of view, they were sitting there saying, my God, we got rid of Nimmo, we got rid of Pete, we got rid of this guy, we got rid of that guy. And then it didn't really seem like they were going to sign anybody. Like when they got Polanco and Simeon, a lot of you were like, what the hell are we doing here? But then the other moves came, a little younger, more athletic, and more aggressive. You don't know what tomorrow brings. I know that that's such a basic statement. So just try to straddle the line, all right? Be invested, be engaged, be passionate, but also be realistic and understanding that there's this thing called the trade deadline, and there's this thing called the calendar, and right now it still reads January. That's all I'm saying. Just understand that. At Strategy, not an easy word to say, Strategy, or Strategy, either way. Yeah, just shave it. Look how clean I look. I mean, you have to. You have to. I remember once in a while, Tiki, that's where I came up with the George Jefferson reference from. Tiki would come. Now, Tiki looks like an Adonis. Looks like an absolute Adonis. Like you see Tiki in these clips on YouTube, he is absolutely swole. Like his arms are jacked. His chest. Now he also goes with the schmedium. I mean, Tiki likes those tight shirts. And by the way, if you look like that, I don't blame you. But he's also very proportionate. Like, he's got, not to sound like I think the guy, I'm trying to date the guy, but he's like his thighs are stacked, his chest is stacked, and he's got these perfect white teeth, right? Got a perfectly chiseled face. He always dresses well. He looks like $1 gazillion, right? He really is a good-looking guy who presents himself really well. But every once in a while, he would come as when we were really more so on the Fan, because when we were on the Fan, we weren't on TV, but when we were doing the national show, well, we were on YouTube, whatever, but so you can watch us there, but we weren't on a network like we were when we were doing the national afternoon show on CBS Sports Network. So he wouldn't dare do it then. Every once in a while, Teak would roll in and he'd have the sides here. And, even though I've got a little of the horseshoe, he's got a full-blown George Jefferson horseshoe. I'm like, what in the world are you doing? No matter how good you look, it's offset by what's going on at the top of your head. What happened? All right, anyway, let me bounce. I had to do a little bit of a shorter one today just because I do have to jump in the shower, shave the dome. Cars coming at 10:30. Go talk about some youth sports. Tomorrow, back to usual, 10 o'clock. You get this. If I had to take a guess, I feel like the Jets will end up with Frank Reich. I feel like Wink. I think there's a little bit of a trap door there. Interview 3 days ago, still going back and forth. I'd be good with Wink. Something tells me that is not going to happen. That's my guess with that. So I'll go Frank Reich, and I could see them going to Chris Harris, which I don't really love, or Leonard, which I would like more. And then obviously this other thing, and I just spent 2-3 minutes on it, but this bears watching as we get toward February 5 and the NBA trade deadline. Talk about baseball trade deadline, the NBA trade deadline, where the Knicks right now, a lot of rumblings, taking a look at Drew Holiday, trying to get that third team involved, and now you got people, trying to align themselves with Giannis. Hey, I could get you to your preferred destination. And that would be a next level move. If the Knicks are able, and I don't know it's possible. I think it's a lot to expect because of their lack of first round picks. It's it's a very complex deal. But if they walk away with Drew Holiday as a defensive big shot backcourt mate for Jalen Brunson, and you get Giannis, and you ship out Cat and Bridges, which is all the rumblings there, I'm in, and it's on. So hopefully that happens. I would say the odds maybe 20, 25, 30% that all that does come to fruition. But, hey, I'm here for it if it does. So have a great Tuesday. I will obviously see you tomorrow at 10. Anything breaks when I get back from shooting the show, I'll pop on. Have a great day. Follow the channel, like it, subscribe it, Twitter, Instagram, go hop on, let your buddies know about what we're doing here on BT Unleashed. I appreciate J-Rod, and I will catch you guys tomorrow at 10. Have a great day.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?